everybody. I'm Madalyn Sklar, host of the Social ROI Chat. We just finished another incredible one where we got so much insights. And our guest today is Deirdre Breakenridge. Hey, Deirdre, how are you?
I am doing really well. Thank you. And your chat community is awesome. I had a blast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My dog even said it was great. Did you hear that? That was his little bark saying, yes, I loved it too. Wow, that was like the fastest hour. It went so fast, so much information being shared. Really appreciate you coming on and making it just, not to sound silly, but an hour of power. I mean, that's really what it was. And before we dive in, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own company. It's a communications consulting firm. I used to be an agency owner for about 15 years. I've spent 30 years in PR and marketing. I'm an author, a speaker, a blogger, a podcaster, and a professor.
Wow. You do it all.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not even work though. A lot of what I do is just pure passion and fun.
I can totally relate. I'm in the same boat with that. Big shout out to everybody that's here live with us, by the way. I see that Jim is here. He says, I'm here, and I hit the share button. It's so funny because, Deirdre, I've gotten everybody in the habit of hitting that share button because, it's a great way to let other people know that, hey, we got this awesome discussion going on. So if you hit the share button, everybody can come and hang out with us live or watch the replay later, which we always appreciate. We're going to just dive right in. We're just going to go right into the topic and the questions on this chat so we can I used to say, get the expanded, go beyond the 140 characters, but now that we're at 280, a little different, not quite going past 140 anymore. Although it's interesting. Do you find it interesting that people don't really use the 280 characters? I thought people were going to go really crazy with it. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought so too, but I think people are still in the whole 140 mode. Just because really you have it doesn't mean you have to use it. Although when it's necessary, I find myself using it. But even my tweets, this evening, I think that some of them were just really concise sound bites, and they were definitely under 280.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I was concerned that people were going to get really out of hand with it, especially on a Twitter chat. You host a Twitter chat. I host two different chats. Could you imagine if people went all crazy with the 280 characters during a chat? It would be really hard to, these fast moving chats, it would be really hard to read these long posts.
Exactly, because you want to be able to glance and take something away and then share quickly. If you were caught up reading so many characters in every single tweet, you'd never get to share. And that's what it is. It's engagement. That's the best part of these chat sessions.
Absolutely. Well, this was a great chat today. The topic was effective business communication tips for digital marketers. Although I have to say, the tips that were shared today are not necessarily just for the digital marketers, really for all businesses, all types of people online, because, we shared really practical information that really just about anybody can use. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. And I think that it was all based on business and trying to get closer to customers. I mean, that is a number one goal. So I did see a lot of discussion around the importance of, how you have to know your audience. And we got into the whole data topic and monitoring. I think that speaks to how everybody needs to think about their communication effectively.
I agree, for sure. Let's dive into question number one. I thought this was just a great question to really kick off things. What are some of the essential elements of effective communication to consider in a business context?
Yeah, so when it comes to effective communication, if you don't understand who you're trying to communicate with or what you're trying to achieve, you're never going to get to effective communication. So I think that's where we all have to step back and say, what are we trying to do here? Who are we helping? Are we solving a problem? Or are we just maybe entertaining? What is it that we're trying to do? And then we can be more meaningful or be a resource.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I loved how you mentioned during the chat, you said return on connection, ROC. We see the different, B2B, H2H, human, that's becoming really popular. Talk about return on connection. Is that going to be like the next big thing?
So that was actually one of your community members. So I was saying, it probably, I don't remember where it stemmed from, but we were talking about the understanding and the effective communication and the engagement that you get and the impact. And I want to say, oh, gosh, I don't have his handle off the top of my mind. But
I didn't catch that tweet. I saw your tweet.
Yeah.
So
I was responding to him. And he brought up this return on connection, which I jumped on and said, that is so good. I love this.
That is good. I found the tweet is John Kasich, and he's not one of the regulars on the chat. So that was his first time there. But it's interesting in his bio, it says rewarded connection, ROC. So it must be something he's, spreading the gospel on it, I guess. But he says that's how your tweet was effective communication means that you're sharing information that's meaningful and you're a valuable resource to customers and important constituents. And then he said, that's how you get ROC, return on connection.
Yeah, I thought that was so, you hear return on investment, obviously, return on engagement, return on connection. So kudos to him.
I love it. I think that's so cool. Jim I love how we can get real-time responses in here. Jim says, remember, you're communicating with others, not yourself. Everyone must understand what you're saying. That's a great point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So question number 2, how can digital marketers nurture and develop relationships with prospects and customers over time?
Yeah, I just feel like what you put in is what you're going to get out. That's number one. Why, even though social media creates connections, it still has to be nurtured. You're working up a relationship staircase in a sense. And we do have the ability to turn a casual hello into a trusted confidant, but you have to invest.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to put that time in, it won't happen. And I think there's also, when it comes to nurturing relationships, you have to be more empathetic and understanding, and you have to show that you care. You have to listen and be present. It's really important.
Yeah, Brian Vanzo is really big on the show You Care, which I'm a big fan of. Lucy Rindler Kaplan tweeted, get to know them, which I thought was really good. Find out what is important to them and check in to ask about those things. See what you can do to help them.
Absolutely.
Dinner out.
Right.
Pardon?
I was just going to say, I build a lot of relationships with influencers and with the media. And building a relationship doesn't mean, you're asking somebody to do something. Like when you're pitching the media, for example, or you want an influencer to participate, you have to have the times in between when you're sharing, when you're adding value, when you're sending them something that they need to know, that you're there when they have a question and you can respond. So it's always a two-way, and making sure that you're giving good information and being a valuable resource. That's so important.
Right. Rachel from Express Writers said basically this same thing, and, show that you care about them. So, we're getting a lot of the same answers and insights on that particular question, which is a really good one to talk about. I think it's an important topic. Now, methods of communication are constantly changing. What tips do you have for staying on top of new media channels?
Yeah, so there's so many resources out there.
Yes.
Whether you're tapping into your bloggers and your blog or the podcasters, maybe you're deciding to go to conferences because you're going to learn from industry experts. I think it all depends on where you want to learn or how you want to learn. Maybe it's going to be through YouTube and videos. It all depends. But there's so many places that, you know, when it comes to new media channels, I tend to find that I'm learning things through bloggers and influencers. I also like to surround myself. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. And when somebody says something new that I'm not familiar with, I think you have to take it upon yourself to actually go check it out and do something. And I'll tell you, millennials have taught me a lot about what's new, what's hot.
Sure.
I don't need to be on Snapchat, but I know a lot about Snapchat. So if my brands do need to be there, Cheval mentioned Cheddar. I work with my team, and Cheddar is definitely an avenue where we have an executive who talks about what's hot in AI and marketing ethics. Makes sense, to get her on Cheddar. There's lots of ways, but you have to stay in tune. I think that's where you kind of have to get out of your comfort zone and either be using, right, resources and new platforms, or know people who are going to feed you information.
Right. And there's so many podcasts out there. It seems like today in 2018 that podcasts are really becoming like universities, right? Like little mini universities. There's so much free knowledge that's being shared. And you had mentioned, I remember you mentioning Gary Vaynerchuk and Mike Stelzner.
Yeah.
Mike Stelzner with social media marketing podcasts, gosh, you listen to that every week and you're going to fill your brain with so much information that's so valuable. So I think that's important. Kevin Garber, our Managed Flitter CEO, said to talk to people, but especially younger people, and ask them what platforms they're using, which is always smart. When my son was younger and he was a teenager, you just, see what apps they're using and what platforms and tools. And that's always a great way to know, like, what's going to be big, right? What are the next big things?
That's why I love the students. Being a teacher in the online classroom, and I used to physically be in the classroom with students for years. I started teaching back in 2002. I was at Fairleigh Dickinson University for 7 years. Then I went over to NYU for 4 years, and now I'm with UMass. And always having those students around who they're digital natives, they get it. Yeah, it feeds your soul. It does.
Yeah, they don't know like what is, what's now an old school telephone. Like you can't even say the word telephone anymore, right? It's not a telephone. It's not something where you dial numbers.
Right, the round circular dial.
Oh my gosh, yeah, those rotary phones. Yeah,
on the wall.
Yeah, I do too. Like we're dating ourselves. It's like I remember those. It's like, oh my gosh, you get like a teenager today, they wouldn't know what to do with that, right?
Exactly.
They would probably laugh at us if we said that's what we used to use to talk. And what about minutes? Remember how you used to have to pay for long distance minutes? Oh my God, all those big phone bills. Woof.
I know. I still think
different times.
It is different, but I still hope that we pick up use our smartphones and make a phone call, or we get together and be in person. I still find that's the best way to take the virtual relationship. You move it to a higher level when you're actually with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to get people to pick up their phones these days. Everything now is just texting and Facebook Messenger. Like, everybody wants to do Messenger. Nobody wants to just talk on the phone, right? It's just,
I wouldn't call a journalist. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't call a journalist or an influencer. But every so often there's an opportunity where, and this is just an example. So with my podcast, Women Worldwide, I work with a lot of publicists and PR agencies. And once in a while, I'll just have something that I can't text or I can't email, and I pick up the phone and they're like, Deirdre, oh my gosh, it's so nice to hear your voice. So you just never know. Sometimes a phone call is necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want something quick, just pick up the phone. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. What does it take to build, maintain, and protect your brand's reputation?
Oh, all right. Well, first, we all know that it takes time to build the reputation, but it takes minutes to break it down and to ruin it. I think good judgment is something that you have to rely on social media. I also think that you have to be monitoring conversations about your brand or yourself, set up your alerts, or if you're on mention, so that you know who's saying what is really important. I think I mentioned during that discussion, it's really important. The reason why we build relationships anywhere through any channel is to have our community or have our champions around us, because when your reputation is challenged, and this goes back to the days of the media. I could take this 20 years. I could take this 30 years back. We built relationships with the media because when something bad happens, they come to you first and they want to hear your side of the story. And right. That's really good to have people who are going to do that and give you the opportunity. It's no different on social media. You want to be able to have people in your corner that will come to you, that will share accurate information, that will advocate and stand up when your reputation is being challenged. So relationships are very important.
Absolutely. It's always about relationships for sure. So I totally agree with you on that. So let's wind this down. I love the last question, number 7 on the chat today. And it's something that people don't talk about enough. Why is it important for digital marketers to consider, and it's really for anybody, to consider mentors, like mentoring others?
Well, first of all, I'm a firm believer that you have to give back to the industry that supports you. That's number one. There comes a time and a place where you have the knowledge, you have the experience, you always want to share. You have the opportunity to be molding the future leaders, the future digital marketers, or whatever profession you're in. And that is so important. You also have the opportunity for reverse mentoring. Every time I mentor, I walk into situations coming out with more knowledge than I ever expected. So all those students and professionals that I speak with, the tables turn at some point, and I'm learning from them. So reverse mentoring is this new, really great way to
I love that.
learn so much. And we should all take advantage of it. You know, I think you have to check your ego at the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously. You do. Just to say, okay, I might have 30 years and you have 5 years, but there's something you might know, especially with millennials and now Gen Z, right? They know a lot.
That is so smart. I love it. Very well said. And if people are looking to get mentored, you know, in many instances, you just need to ask, right?
Yes.
Ask for help. When I started off being an entrepreneur in 1996, the internet was new. I was, becoming a digital marketer. I was one of the first web designers here in Houston, and there was nobody else doing this, right? I was one of the very first few. So I had no one to mentor. Like, I had to learn and figure everything out myself. And then I transitioned, starting a music community of women in music, and again, learning as I was going along, taught myself how to build a community. It was all new territory for anyone because the internet was so new at the time. And when I look back on all those years, I was in the music business for 21 years with my online community. I had no one to mentor. I mean, nobody to mentor me. Like, I just, but yeah, like what you're saying though, like, I can give back and help others by mentoring them so they can take advantage. But this is why I like Twitter chats. I like Twitter chats because we can all come on and learn so much. It's almost like mentoring sessions.
I was just going to say that, because mentoring has changed so much. When I started mentoring, it was in person, it was on the phone, or it was physically at conferences. But now mentoring, every time you answer a question through Twitter. You're mentoring somebody.
Right.
Not just that person, but so many people. You can be in a Twitter community like yours. Believe it or not, that sharing, there's guidance that could be in the form of mentoring. So I just think mentoring takes a different shape, and we have a real opportunity to give back in different ways through social media and our communication.
I agree with you so much. I think Twitter chats, like my Twitter Smarter chat, people are always saying like they're learning so much about Twitter on the chat. People come here for social ROI and say they're learning so much about, this intersection of social and your return on investment. And, it's always so comforting to hear people say they get so much out of these Twitter chats. And so I feel like, yes, we're mentoring them. If they're open to receiving.
It's amazing.
It really is. I really appreciate your time with us. You have been so generous with it today. The Twitter chat was amazing. And now this recap after chat, hearing your expanded insights onto the questions. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
On Twitter, I'm at Breakenridge. You can always ask me a question. And that's actually my new book that came out, Answers for Modern Communicators. It's all based on questions I've curated from Twitter and from different online platforms. So find me on Twitter. You can check out my blog at DeirdreBreckenridge.com. And you can also email me. I'm Deirdre at pureperformancecom with 2Ms.com.
Excellent. I'm posting your Twitter and pinning it on here so everybody will see it.
Thank you.
Everybody, please check Deirdre out on Twitter, on her website, all these great places. Check out her book. This has just been awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. That we just really enjoy. I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope everybody else did too.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. It was so much fun getting to know your community and, of course, you. And I look forward to continued discussions.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to definitely have to do like some collaborations together. I just really enjoy everything you're doing. So we will definitely stay in touch for sure.
That sounds great. I feel the same way.
Awesome. And we're going to have another great social ROI chat next week. We've got Leslie McDermott coming. She is a social media strategist and does management as well. She's the owner of the Social Launch. It's going to be awesome. So we will see you back here next week. So until then, I'll just see you out on Twitter like I always do. So take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.